So we're just going to go ahead and jump right into our last module of the day. Rachel's going to send us off to break with managing change, which we call the harvest module. Rachel, you on?
Yes.
All
Can
right.
you hear me good?
Yep.
Okay. So we will go ahead and begin here with harvest, which I don't know. I think change is more about, instead of harvest, I wish I could name this fall, because we see change happening all around us, and it's a good thing, right? We love going and looking at the leaves in the fall because they are changing color, and we can see that whole process of change happening in the trees. So I think, put this in your brain, fall. Think of fall when you think of change. Okay, next. So when you think about change, think about when you were growing up and you went from kindergarten to first grade, or first to second, and then even when you made the jump from 8th grade into high school, and you went from a place that you might have felt comfortable because it was the end of the year, right? And you had already met all these people and you were comfortable around them, to the next year when you had to jump into that new situation, that new pool of people, that new class. Going from middle school to high school can be stressful. It's a whole new people group that you're surrounded by. There's a ton of new things happening, but you had to go, right? You couldn't just stay in 8th grade forever. Even if you wanted to, it wouldn't be fun. So think about it that way. When you are moving forward, which is what going to high school was, or going to college was, it was inevitable, it was stressful, but it was necessary. And hopefully after a little bit of time, and when you got used to those changes, it was a good thing, right? You were excited to be in high school. You were excited to move on to those next stages of life. And sometimes things are going to happen, you know, like maybe it was exciting and it was stressful and change is inevitable about getting your driver's license. And maybe you got in a wreck like I did, right? And you hit a deer and your dad is mad at you. It happens, right? So there might be some setbacks along the way, and that's okay too. You're not always going to get everything 100% right. No one is going to. And I think going into change with that mindset that we don't all have the perfect roadmap. Sometimes our GPS sends us the wrong way. But as long as we know where we're going, that's okay. As long as we have an idea or a goal or a destination, it's okay if we get a little lost along the way. Okay, next. So when you're thinking about change, assess what you have already and where you want to go. So you need to know what resources, relationships, personalities are already available, and what you need to work on to get there. And we need to know, yeah, I'm like waiting for these things to change. We need to know where we're going though. So change moves up and down, right? So change moves throughout an organization. Communication has to move throughout an organization. And in order to make any lasting changes, sometimes we have to take big steps. Sometimes we have to make significant changes. Sometimes there has to be some barriers that are broken to move forward. And honestly, Melody, I am not sure what these whole maps meant. So if you want to share about that.
I should have taken those out. Those were the Greene County thing. Just, yeah, you're good. There you go.
I was like, I'm really lost because I don't get what these are even showing me.
I think I put the wrong one up, but you're good. We're good.
Okay. So as far as master gardeners, like we just discussed, we need to understand what are our motivations for being involved in the program, where do we want the program to go in the future, and what is the mission of the program. So for master gardeners, the mission is to expand UT Extension's capabilities, right? So Master Gardeners are our extension into the community, even more than one person is capable of. Master Gardeners are there to distribute horticulture-based information and create and maintain a volunteer network and enhance community outreach. That sounds very simple when it is put onto this little graphic. And then when you are in a group of people things come up, right? So this is all information, but whenever you put that into action, people come into play. And people is the heart of our mission. So I could take everything off of this whole graphic on your screen and just say, what are the Master Gardeners for? People. What is Extension for? People. We are here to change people's lives at the end of the day. And how do we change people's lives? Well, the reason you're all here as Master Gardeners is because you like gardening. So you want to change people's lives through gardening. And we can do that, right? But how do we do that? Is the next slide. All of these things, right? We have to have a passion for it. We have to have a purpose. We have to understand what that purpose is of every person involved. We have to understand that in order to achieve that goal, some things might have to change along the way, and that's okay. So in order to see the leaves change, those leaves have to fall at some point, right? Those leaves have to start losing chlorophyll. So in order to see those become so pretty, some other things have to happen along the way, and that's okay. That's a good thing in the end. So how can you do that? Each person has to be following their passion, and each person has to be passionate about it. So if you don't understand what your motivation is for being a part of the Master Gardeners, maybe just sit down and reflect for a little bit and figure that out for yourself. Why am I a part of this program? Write it down, because writing it down means that it's more likely to happen. So write it down. I want you to get out a sheet of paper and write down why you are a Master Gardener. And then once you have that, share that with everybody else, because that is your passion. Why you're a part of this is your passion. So grow yourself, again, then share that with other people. Other people are going to get excited about it, and your organization is going to grow.
Very good, Rachel. We struggled there. I apologize because I pulled the wrong one out. So those little maps, I take responsibility for that. So
move into what comes next. Like, I promise that we've all been taking notes, today. And Rachel's been putting them in the chat box, but, I've got like random stuff scribbled everywhere, surveys, forms. But, and this gets to what Pam was saying, also ways that we can kind of take a little bit of this dynamic that took place, virtually, but also look forward to the coming years and say, hey, we want to have something like this every year. Hopefully we'll mostly be able to be in person. So I'm going to send out an email tomorrow morning that actually won't really be a survey instrument. What it'll be is more like, what did you take away? What do you think would be some of the most valuable things for your group, right? And so it'll just be like, type them back to me. I'll kind of synthesize, but just, be willing to share your feedback and your ideas, because we just want to use this as a stepping stone to the future. And so I think that that hopefully this also gives you some things to go back to your local group and talk about. I mean, you all who have, raised kids and had jobs and worked in all sorts of different environments, that like everything that we talked about today could be a whole week seminar, right? Problem solving, developing culture, creating vision, making a strategic plan. But all of these are just elements that if we just take one small step, we can work towards building that positive, supportive culture, and change us one step at a time, unless of course, it's 2020 and then it's just a change tornado. But one of the things that we talked about in our group in the last thing about change was we've absorbed a lot of change over the last 6 months. But when we move into 2021, we get to kind of pick and choose. This change worked. We'll keep it. Check. This change made us all crazy. We're going to throw it back. So, Greg always says this a lot. We're going to try this, and if it doesn't work, we're going to quit, right? So, don't feel like every time, you move forward, you have to retain every element of that. We're getting ready to do a 2021 virtual Master Gardener training for half of it, right? We definitely want to retain the people element, but, we're going to openly say, look, we're going to try some stuff this spring, and some of it's probably not going to work at all. Just tell us it didn't work, and we won't do it again. And so that's the teamwork. That's the trust and the transparency that we are all in this together. Speaking back to 2020, we know that as we headed into this year, we had a in-person conference. I think we got some Northeast folks here who didn't get to host the conference, but we took a survey, right? And this is in January, February, and one of the most humorous things for me is that when it came back, we had a question in there about how do you like to receive your education? This won't be a surprise to you. The vast majority of people wanted to receive their education live in horticulture classes that were in their community. And online education, both recorded and live, were some of the lowest, rated opportunities, right? And then we went into 6 months where that was the only thing we had. And so this week we're in the middle right now of a survey that went out to really all the folks that signed up for our Friday focus series all across the state. And so we are getting some just really cool feedback from people. We have some open-ended questions. How did the Master Gardener program benefit you? And we have everything from enriching and supporting my passion to providing a solace in a crazy year to providing me lots of new information. So there's just lots of ways that the human element has still been seen this year, even as we've had some very technology and distance-based discussions. This gets right, and I promise that I did not ask Suzanne to say this, but what is the area that people have learned the most this year? They reported that it was pollinators and biodiversity in their plantings. So I really think that, building on that and moving forward in some of those topics would be, an awesome way to kind of take what we've learned and move forward. But we also had a question in there that was about distance education. And so I want to share with you a little bit about what people said. I'm looking right now at the screen, like it's up to the minute data. And 93% of our people said that distance technology can help us reach audiences that may not be able to attend in person, right? Young people with kids, folks who have funny work schedules, or people who are taking care of their parents, or, aren't able to go out at night. Like, we talk a lot about new audiences or underserved audiences. Technology can help us get there. But 75% of our people, and I would fall in this category, feel that distance technology will best be used going forward in conjunction with in-person. And so if you hear just one thing about hopefully what 2021 brings for us, it's that we're not planning on doing all of our meetings in person. We really want to see you both in person and digitally. And so I think that it'll be a combination of all of that moving forward. But here's my favorite one. 81% of our people feel more confident using digital and distance technology than they did a year ago. So, I mean, were we excited about it when March the 16th happened? Maybe not. But I think that we have the skill set that's going to help us support each other and our communities moving forward. So as we think about next year, we're going to do, more digital series on some of our priority topics, whether it be Google Forms or Qualtrics surveys or pollinators in your garden. But, knock on wood, right now, we have 3 in-person conferences planned for next summer, May, June, September, hopefully once we get into a little bit more larger meeting schedule, but we have regional meetings planned for next year in McMinnville with lots of plants, in Fenders County with lots of fruit and vegetables, in Clarksville with lots of trees. And what we want to do, Pam, is have this leadership day in person next year. And so that's a lot of what we'd love feedback from you about. Yeah, let's dive deep. You know, how do we even do a better job in person incorporating networking? And maybe we have some very topic specific breakout discussions. There's the survey room and there's the Zoom room, or, you know, there's lots of ways we could do that. And then next spring, we're doing a collaborative intern training for live video delivery once a week. Actually, Celeste and Lee and Tom and Hamilton County, like we have several folks that are kind of doing a trial run this year, but there's going to be even more of us doing that next spring. But the thing that I want to say about that is that we're only using distance to help reach people. You know, so it's not all about technology. It's about the people behind the technology, and we're only going to use that to build on our in-person relationships and collaborations, never replace them. In the next newsletter, you'll get an invitation for this, but our final statewide Zoom visit for the year, and this was a team effort. Like all of us were being nerds as we came up with this title, but we're going to get together to let us give thanks for 2020 being almost over. And so November the 20th is going to be the day where we celebrate some of our Search for Excellence winners. So you haven't necessarily heard all of them yet because we've been dragging them out all throughout the year. We're going to talk about 2020. We're going to share some of your feedback and some of what you learned from today. And we're going to kind of spread a little bit of that love throughout the state. So Friday the 2020th. And Melody, I think it's you.
Oh, okay. Well, just to show a few tools that you're going to have at your disposal. Well, first of all, let me show a picture here of the workgroup team. And Jenny and Andrea, I'm not sure why your pictures are not staying loaded, but I will work on that and make sure that it's working. But this is just a snapshot of the Tennessee Extension Master Gardener workgroup. So make sure that you do like Natalie said and give us some feedback and let us know how we can make the Leadership Day better in the future. We did have a lot of hands-on activities. Some of you have actually participated in a few of those with me before in the past, and so we were really going to get, you know, hands-on with some stuff, and we just couldn't do that via the Zoom. But I still think we've had a tremendous day sharing and collaborating with one another and networking, and hopefully have some pathways for partnerships in the future. So with that, we've been talking about tools that you can use. Drum roll. Uh-oh, it's not going to take us to that. You can't see that, can you? Nope. Okay, hang on a minute. All right, so we have a website that has been created with all the tools for sowing the seeds of success. Can y'all see that now, Natalie? The website? Okay. All of you will have access to this. It's broken down in each one of the modules, so you can go back and visit all of those individual modules. You can see those listed here at the top with the title. So today, like we did Cultivate, it has its own page. And of course, I'm not signed into Google Drive, y'all, and this is going to be the key. So instead of having two different locations, we basically have one repository. So many of you are already in the Cultivating Connections Google Drive. What you will need to do is request access to that, and Natalie, again, is going to send out that information. So you can actually even request access from right here on this web page. So we'll be sharing that link with y'all. I should have signed in before I shared that with y'all. But in essence, the Google Drive will be there with all the materials for each one of these presentations, so you can share it yourself in your counties, whether you're an agent or whether you're in the Cultivating Connections team. So you'll have all these resources at your disposal. Right now on the resource page, all we have is that Google Drive. You're going to find it in multiple locations, but this is going to be an excellent place to put some of those different PowerPoints, some of the materials we've been talking about today. This will be a good location, a central repository to store all that. So this is a work in progress, because this is going to be a teamwork effort with all of us here today to help build this. And if you go to that Google Drive, you'll be able to see a lot of materials already in there. If you need to talk to any of the team, and right there is Andrea and Jenny. They have filtered in here now. But there's live links with emails, so you can reach out and contact any of us, and then just an FAQ page that you can visit as to why we're putting such an emphasis on leadership and how to kind of hone that down to the local level as you work in your monthly meetings and leadership teams.
We got a word cloud that is now coming up for our final interactive activity of today. And I love this. Together and team are some of the words that we are getting over and over and over.
Yeah, and again, we appreciate each of you so much for hanging in there with us today. This is the first time we've ever did a presentation like this statewide, and it was, we didn't want to cancel it. We wanted to do it even though we were going virtual. So we really appreciate your patience and hanging in there with us, and we really hope to grow this program and make it better in years to come.
Yep, it's the longest statewide Zoom meeting we've ever had, and we are so glad that all of you hung in with us right here until the end. Team,
I want to say thank you especially to the coordinator agents on this work group, because you all work so tirelessly and so hard, and it's evident when we have a day like this for everybody to see everything that you do.
All right, so we have reached essentially the end of our time together, but I want to make sure that before we close, I give all our other work group members a chance to jump in and say anything that they'd like to about fight songs, football, leadership.
Just want to say, go ahead. I just want to say thank you to all of you guys. This has been a great day.
I'll second that. I just thank all of you for your time and your dedication. It makes us proud to know that you're responding and giving leadership to your local groups.
I would echo that, Lee. Thanks. Thank you, Master Gardeners. And I would say go forth and prosper.
Thank you all very much. I hope that some the elements of today have been encouraging to you. I can say without reservation that it's been highly encouraging to me. Every time I get to hang out with you guys, it is a shot in my arm. And so thank you for what you do in our program for the people of Tennessee. Y'all are awesome. Have a great rest of your day, and we will hope to see you all soon.